Hello everyone and welcome to this session of web development. My name is Srishti and in this particular session we will be creating a clone of the Facebook login page. So let's begin. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and yeah, this is the Facebook login page and this is what we will be creating. And to show you the output, this is how the output looks. So to start with, of course, you would need an IDE. And the IDE that I'm using over here is this Visual Studio Code, right? So right now I am in this Facebook folder, Facebook login page folder. And over here, I'm going to create, like this is the code for the page that I've just created. And I'm going to create a file over here that would be called, let's suppose, Facebook login.html. Now remember, .html extension is the important part over here, right? You can name anything, like you can name your file anything, but the .html extension is the important part. So over here, as you can see, I have created a new file in my folder. And to start with, I would need the basic structure of HTML, that being the HTML, the head section, and the body section. But over here, I'm going to use this Emmet abbreviation. That is, I'm just going to put this exclamation mark and press enter. This will give me the starter template. So yeah, that's good. So over here, I'm going to write the title. And as most of you would know, the title is actually this part. So Facebook login or sign up, right? So that's what I'm going to write, Facebook login or sign up. So Facebook login or sign up, right? There we go. All right, so in the body section, let's begin with our code. So in the body section, as you can see, okay. In the body section, what I'm gonna write, so what content does this web page has? So this has this heading, which is Facebook. This has this paragraph, and then this has this form, and of course this last line, right? So let's start with the heading and this paragraph that I have right here. So over here in my VS Code, I'm gonna write H1 and I'm gonna write Facebook, right? After that, I'm gonna put a paragraph. Inside this paragraph tag, I'm gonna just paste this content from here. So copy and paste, right? I'm gonna open this with live server so that we can see what exactly is the output right now. And that's the output. Not impressive, not so impressive, but yeah, we'll get there. So we are done with the left side of the page. Now we have to do the right side of the page. So over here, let's begin making the form. So form is what we need. And over here, we are not going to work with action for now. So I'm going to actually remove this. So in the form, what do I want? As you can see, don't want any label. I want input boxes, right? So I'm going to create two input boxes. So input type text is going to be the first one. So input type text. Over here, I'm going to name it as username. This actually email would be better. Email, right? Let me save this. And what do I have over there? What do we have as the output? And there we go. We have our first input box. Just like that, I'm going to create the second input box as well. So input, and the type for this one is not going to be text, but it's going to be password. So input type password, and I'm going to give it a unique ID, which is going to be again password. Right. With that, I'm done with the two input boxes that I require. And after that, what do we need? After that, as you can see over here in this page, I need a button. Then I need this anchor tag. All right. So the button. So button, and the type is going to be submit. And over here, I'm going to say log in. Done. After that, I'm going to put up an anchor tag and I'm going to put a dummy link over here, right? If you want to create multiple pages, you can make the multiple pages and put the link over here. But for now, I'm going to put the dummy link. And over here, it says forgotten password. So I'm going to write the same thing. Forgotten fast. We're gonna hope the P is not capital over there. Not capital, perfect. There we go. Right, so we have our anchor tag as well. I'm gonna save it. And with this, we are done till this part. Looks good. I'm gonna do one more thing. So I'm gonna put this HR, as you can see, it has this line over here, and I'm gonna put this again, this anchor tag. So over here, I'm gonna say HR. Okay, now this is gonna be outside the form. Like my form ends over here, and I'm gonna put my HR after the form. So HR is what I'm gonna write over here, and after that, one more anchor link, anchor tag, sorry, and in the href, I'm gonna mention again the dummy link, and over here, create new account, create new account, save it. Let's see how it looks. So since I've opened the live server, I don't have to reopen the file again and again. I don't have to refresh it again and again, and it gives me the changes that I've done. So this is how it looks. All right. With this, we are actually done with the HTML part, and now we have to do the CSS part. So till now, we are done with the HTML part of making this Facebook clone. And now we are going to look at the CSS part of it. So just remember, always remember, like HTML deals with putting up content on your web page, and CSS deals with making it more beautiful, right? What kind of color do we want, or what kind of length or height do we want, and so on and so forth. So let's begin. So I'm going to share my screen again, and yeah, this is what we have done till now. And if I would show you the output, I think I've already opened it like so. Yeah, this is what we have done till now, right? Now we're gonna deal with the CSS part. So over here, as you can see, the first thing that would come in your mind is this, that the form is in a box and we have not created the box yet. As you can see, our form is not in a box. So over here, that's the first thing that we're gonna do. So over here in my head section, I'm gonna say style, and that's where I'm gonna write my CSS. Just know this is not the only way to type CSS. Actually, you have three ways to type in your CSS. Those being the inline CSS, the internal CSS, and the external CSS. And right now, the one that I'm using over here is internal CSS, right? So in the head section, I have mentioned the style tags, and here I can type in my CSS. So the first thing that I'm going to do over here is, as you can see, this form, which has the two input boxes and the button and the anchor, and this HR and the anchor. I have put everything in a division and given this an ID of box, right? Just to group them together so that I can apply CSS to them as a group, right? So over here, I'm going to select that. So I'm going to put hashtag and I'm going to put box. So why hashtag? Hashtag is why hashtags. So as you can see, I have given this division an ID of a box, not a class, an ID. And whenever you want to select something using ID, you use hashtags, right? So this hashtag tells, okay, this is an ID. The box is actually name given to a particular element using an ID. Make sense? All right, perfect. So hashtag box, and I'm gonna give it some width, right? So let's try 400 pixels. So 400 pixels. Going to save it. And of course, we won't be able to see the border for now because we have not mentioned border. So I'm going to mention the border, of course. So border. And you should know border is a shorthand for all the border properties that we have. So I'm going to mention, it's a shorthand. So I take three values. The first one being the width, the second one being the style, and the third one being the color, right? So for now, I'm going to mention 1 pixel, solid, and black, and save it. Let's see the output, and there we go. We have our box. So good work. Keep it up if you're following with me. The next thing that we want is we want to put these two things being this and this box next to each other. As you can see on the Facebook page, they are next to each other. And to do that, I'm going to use Flexbox, right? So over here, I'm going to mention what? I'm going to put this in a division. So let's put this in a division, and I'm going to give it an ID. And okay, I'm gonna cut this from here. I'm gonna paste it. Let me just give it an idea of text works, right? So as you can see, I have two groups over here. The first group being the text, the second group being the box, right? I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to create one more division over here, and I'm going to put everything else inside this division. So paste it over here. For this particular division, I'm going to give it a class of container, and there we go. So what this means? This just means I have a main container in which I have two small groups. All right, two small groups is what I have. Okay, so right now I'm going to use the Flexbox in my web page. All right, so what I'm going to say to this main container dot container, I'm going to mention what? I'm going to mention display of this container as flex. This will make it a flex box. Like the container dot container will be the flex container, and all of its immediate children are going to be flex items. Now, what do I mean by immediate children? This container has two immediate children. The first one being this, which I've highlighted on the screen, and the second one being this, which I have just highlighted on the screen, like from here to here, from line number 28 to 37, right? So the division with ID text and the division with ID box are the immediate children of the division with the class container, right? The H1 and the paragraphs and the input boxes and etc. are not the immediate children of dot container, right? So all of the immediate children of dot container are now going to be flex items, and yeah, that's what we want. So I'm gonna save it. Let's see the output. And as you can see, both of my children, both of my immediate children are now flexed items and they are next to each other. Perfect. What's next? I'm going to do one more thing, and it's a Flexbox property, and that being justify content. I'm going to put it to space around, space evenly, space between. I'm going to put it to space evenly. I'm going to save it, right? Looks better, right? So I have the Facebook content on the left side and I have this form on the right side. Perfect, perfect. So now it's just a matter of a few more CSS properties to make it look like this particular page, and then we will be done, right? So let's first talk about this, the left side. All right. So what do I want? The first thing that I want is that the color of this Facebook text is gonna be blue, right? So let's go back to VS Code and let's select H1. Now, since I have only one H1 on my page, I can directly select it like this. But if I would have more H1s, I would need a different mechanism to uniquely select the H1 that I want to, make the color of the H1 blue, right? Okay, that being said, I'm gonna put the color of this H1 to blue and save it. I'm gonna go back. Let's see how it looks. So this is how it should look, and this is how it's looking. Now, one thing which I'm not satisfied over here is the color blue. This particular blue color does not resemble this particular blue color. Now what? To solve this particular issue, I am gonna do what? I'm gonna go to this particular website that says imagecolorpicker.com. And essentially what you can do in this particular website is you can upload the image and you can select the particular color that you want from that particular image. And it's gonna give you the hex code as well as the RGB, right? So I have, as you can see, uploaded a snippet of the Facebook login page, and I'm gonna select the color from here. So this is the blue that I'm looking for. And as soon as I've clicked on this blue color, it is giving me this hex code as well as this RGB code. So I'm going to copy this RGB code for now. And okay, successfully copied. Good. I'm going to go back and put this RGB. Okay, I'm going to put this RGB over here. I'm going to save it. And this definitely looks better, right? Similar to the color that we have on the Facebook page. Good. What's next? I have the color over here. I have, okay, let's make, as you can see on this Facebook page, this blue color and this blue color are actually same. So I'm going to put this color on the login button as well. So I'm going to say what, since again, I have only one button on my page, I can directly select it using button, right? And I'm going to say background color of you is gonna be again this particular blue. And okay, I have this blue over here. Perfect. Now let's talk about the right side for now, for a bit. Right, so the first thing that I want on the right side is, as you can see on the main Facebook, like the original Facebook page, the text boxes are next to each other. Not next to each other, they are actually on top of each other, on bottom of each other, right? So they are not next to each other, but over here they are. So I'm gonna change that, right? So I'm gonna say inputs. And what about inputs? I'm gonna say, okay, your width is gonna be, let's suppose 95% of your parent, right? Let's go back and what do I see? The boxes take 95% of the width of their parent, right? So that's how you work with percentages, okay? 95% of what? Of your parent, right? So whatever your parent's width is, you're gonna have the 95% of that. Perfect? Okay, what's next? Okay, so I have the width as 95%. I'm gonna do one more thing. I'm gonna say my box. So hashtag box. Do I already have hashtag box? I guess I do. Yeah, there we go. So over here, I'm gonna mention what? I'm gonna say text align, and I'm gonna say center. Perfect. Better, better. Okay, what's next? For the button as well, I'm gonna say the width of you is also gonna be 95%. And let's get back. There you go. There you go. All right. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to select everything. That's how you select everything. Star. And I'm going to mention what? Over here, I'm going to mention margin. And margin is going to be 0 pixels. Right. Good. Better. Okay. What's next? All right, so I have mentioned margin as 0 pixels. Save it and let's see how the output looks. Can you see this input boxes over here that I have and this button that I have over here? For both of them, I have mentioned 95% as the width. Like the button has the width as 95%, the input also has the width as 95%, but still their width is different. Why? That's because of this way of calculating padding, margin, etc., and way of calculating the width. And right now it is set to content box. Like by default, we have it as content box. So I'm going to change that, right? So I'm going to select everything, and margin doesn't solve the issue over here. So I'm going to get rid of it. And we're going to say box sizing. And we don't want content box. We actually want border box, right? I'm going to save it. And that solves my issue, right? So border box and content box again are what? Are just way of calculating, right? Based upon your padding that you have, based upon your margin that you have, what's going to be the width of your box. All right, perfect. What's next? I have this top box. I have this input box. I have this input box. I have this button and I have this link, right? Over here, as you can see, these have some space. So first of all, I'm going to put some padding, right? So I'm going to say the box is going to have some padding, and not top, but padding on all sides. And let me put it to 20 pixels, right? Padding would do what? Padding will generate these space that I have on the top and the left and the right and all obviously on the bottom as well. So as you can see, Okay, I have some space in the top, on the left, on the right, and on the bottom. That's good. That's what I wanted. What's next? I want some space after my input boxes, right? So over here in my input box, input box, yeah, over here, I'm gonna mention you guys need to have a margin and margin bottom. Now, how many amount of pixels? Let's try 10 pixels, 20 pixels, 10 pixels. Let's try 10 pixels and let's see how it looks. So, okay, 10 pixels does not look like the Facebook main page. How about we try 20 pixels, right? So 20 pixels. Perfect. Looks good. Better, right? The next thing, as you can see, the height of these input boxes is, much larger than what I have by default over here. So I'm gonna change that as well. I'm gonna say your height is gonna be how much? Let's try 50 pixels. Okay, I'm gonna save it. Let's see. Definitely better. So I have my height as 50 pixels. That's good. Perfect. What do I want? As you can see on the main page, the height of these two input boxes as well as this button is same. So I'm going to mention that over here as well. So button is supposed to have a height of 50 pixels. And there we go. Right. So with this, we are done with the heights of these three things. What's next? I want some space after this button as well. So I'm going to say, okay, you're going to have margin bottom as just the way input box have, right? Input boxes have, apparently, since I have two on my page, and there we go, we have the space. For the space after these, after and before these anchor tags, I'm gonna, put margin in my HR. So HR needs to have what? Margin and margin, let's suppose top. I don't want margin on left and right, so I'm just going to say margin top 20 pixels, and I want margin at the bottom as well, so 20 pixels for that as well. Right, let's see how it looks. Perfect. Looks good, looks good. So this is where we have reached till now. Now we just need to do some finer CSS. Like we are done with the broader CSS that that we wanted, and now we just have to add a few more finer CSS properties to make it look exactly like this Facebook page. Right. Okay. So what's next? The first thing that I want is, as you can see, this box and the input boxes and this button, the login button. The sides, as you can see, are rounded, right? They are not straight like what I have over here, right? They do not have these pointed corners, they have round corners, right? So that's what I'm going to put over here. So the property to do that is actually border radius. Okay, so in this hashtag box, I'm going to say border radius, and I'm going to put it to 10 pixels. I'm going to save it. And as you can see, yes, very good. The corners are no longer pointed. I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to copy this. Same thing where? Same thing on my button. And same thing at my in my inputs, right? So save it. And my inputs and my button are now rounded. That's good. What's next? One thing I totally forgot, as you can see, this forgotten password is does not have this underline, right? Until I hover on it, of course. So let's do that as well. So over here, I'm gonna say anchor tags, since I want to, okay, let's look at this. Okay, since both of them does not have, the underline, so I'm gonna select using the anchor tags, and I'm gonna say text decoration, and I'm gonna set it to none, right? So the underline now would be gone, as you can see. That's good. Forgotten password looks good. It's just that the color is not good, right? The color, I need to set it to the same color that I picked using that particular website. So I'm gonna mention Your color is gonna be this. That's good. Also, when anchor is hovered, so hover. Okay, let's do hover, right? And I'm gonna say what? When someone hovers on you, the text decoration is gonna be underlined. So what's gonna happen? This just means anchor tag, when it is, in the normal state, is gonna have the text decoration as done. In other words, the underline is gonna go away. But as soon as the anchor tag is hovered upon, the text decoration is gonna be underlined. Right, so it's gonna have that underline, and see, as soon as I hover on it, the underline is there, right? Looks good. This login, this login, this login doesn't look good. Okay, we'll do it afterwards. What's next? Let's talk about this create new account button, right? So over here, I'm gonna assume I want to uniquely select it. So over here, create new account, I'm gonna give it an ID, and ID can be new account button, button, right? So that's how I can uniquely select it. And over here, I can say create new account. And one thing which I missed over here is the hashtag, since this is an ID, so I can't directly select it that way. That's better. Okay, so what do I want? The first thing that I want over here is just to have this particular green color, right? So I'm gonna go over here, not over here, that's the page. Yeah, there. And over here, I'm gonna select the green color that I have over here. Very good. Gonna copy the RGB code. You can alternatively copy the hex code as well. Background color is the property, and I'm gonna set background color to this particular green and save it. Okay. All right. Let's mention some width for it, and the width can be all right, 95%. And one more thing I need to do is I need to mention display for this as inline block. I'm gonna save this. Let's see. Okay. Did I? Create new account button. Okay. This is not working. Why? Because the name of the ID is not correct. Create new. Okay, whatever. New account button is what I wanted to write. I'm gonna save this, and yeah, that's definitely better. Right. I'm gonna mention its height, and its height is gonna be just like the others. So 50 pixels is the thing. And okay, I want this to have padding on top, right? Because I want that space. So padding and on top and 10 pixels, and save it, and better, and 20 pixels. No, 15. Perfect. That's what I wanted, right? The color is going to be, I think, white is what we have on the main page. White. So I'm going to mention the color as white over here. White. Save it. And that's definitely better. Good. So we are done with the colors. One more thing, the login, the text login and the text create new account. I want them to be, bigger in size, right? I want to increase the text size. So the property to do that is actually font size. And I'm going to mention font size to, let's try 20 pixels. So 20 pixels definitely looks good. I'm going to do the same thing to the login button as well. So button. Yes, there we go. And I'm going to say font size, and I'm going to mention 20 pixels to it. I'm going to save it, and definitely better. Okay. The next thing, let's talk about the fonts, right? As you can see, the font over here are actually different than what I have by default. So what to do with the fonts, like how to put the font. So I'm going to go to this particular website that says fonts.google.com. And if I would open it again for you, fonts.google.com, right? Okay. Fonts, Google Fonts. And yeah, this is the website, and over here you have a lot of fonts that you can choose from. So what you need to do is you need to look for a similar font as this one, and I look for it and I think this one actually kind of looks similar. Why? Because as you can see, this F over here looks kind of similar to this F. So I'm going to use this one, right? Over here, I'm going to select this font, and which one do I want? Let's try for this Facebook word, like the word Facebook over here. I'm gonna go with a bolder one. So this looks good. I'm gonna select the style, and this link, I'm gonna copy this. That's how you use Google Fonts. You just select the style, you select this link, you put it in your head section. So over here in the head section, I'm gonna put this link, and afterwards is just this property, right? So font family is what you want, and that's the value for it. So I'm gonna put it to H1. So save it, H1, and okay, where's my page? Where's my page? There's my page, right? So we have that particular font. Okay, what's next? I want to change the size of this. So I'm gonna change the size for this. So the size can be what? Okay, size can be what? Font size. And let's try 40 pixels. And okay, that looks big. We don't want to put it to 100 pixels. 80, let's try 80. Okay. Okay, no, that's again big. I'm gonna remove this. We don't want this anymore. 80. How about 50 again? 50. 50 looks good. That's good. That's good. Okay. Let's put the font family in these two words as well. So log in and create new account. And over here, I'm gonna copy this font family and I'm gonna put it to this import HR name button is what I want. And I'm gonna put this font family to the button. And I'm gonna put this again font family to this create new account button. Let's save it. That's bold. We don't want it to be that bold. So let's select let's select this version of it. So I'm gonna copy this code. This is already selected for me, but okay. And over here, I'm gonna put this link as well over here. So the one is for the bolder version and the other is for thinner version. All right. Definitely looks better. The login, is it in black color? No, it's not in black color. So I'm going to put it in white color. All right. So the button, where do we have? Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to put color and I'm going to put it to white. I'm going to save it. Perfect. Better. Okay, what's next? For this particular form, I'm gonna, as you can see, okay, if I go back to the main page to show you, this button does not have a border, right? So we're going to remove the border. It's as simple as that. So border, and we are going to set it to none, save it, and the border is gone. Better. Secondly, this button over here, the create new account button, the size of it is actually it's smaller in the main page. So I'm going to make it smaller. So over here, what's the width of it? 95%. Now you take 50%, right? Gonna go back and okay, create new account, size is not going to be 20, 50. Okay, not good. 18. Okay, does that look similar? Definitely. And over here, I'm gonna mention the, okay, which property? A quick question for you. So as you can see, we, in this tutorial a few minutes ago, made the corners rounded, right? We made they were pointed at first, by default, they were pointed, and we made it round. So what property we used? Okay, so for those who guess the correct property, it's actually border radius, and I'm going to put border radius to how much? Let's put it to 10 pixels as earlier. So border radius 10 pixels, and looks good. We are done with this button. We are done with this. We are done with this. What's next? Okay, as you can see, these text boxes have a lighter border, right? And over here, as you can see, the border is of a very dark color. So I'm gonna go back to my inputs, and the inputs. Okay, inputs, I'm gonna mention what? Border and the color can be gray. I'm gonna save it. Okay, color gray. Let's put it to a different. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna make it a bit like it's the width of the border is a lot, so I'm gonna put it to 1 pixel, solid, and again gray. And I don't want this particular gray, I want a lighter version of it. So I'm gonna go back to my login page, and I'm gonna just copy this RGB code that I have over here. Copy this, and that's the particular color that I want. So there we go. I'm gonna save it, and okay. Not working? Why? Because the property that I mentioned over here is wrong. It should supposed to be border. Perfect. And there we go. Looks similar to the main Facebook page. Very good. You should be proud of yourself at this particular moment if you're following along with me. What's next? We want a similar kind of color as the border for this particular box as well, as you can see on the main page. Yeah. So over here, I'm going to say what? I'm going to put the same border. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to put this where? I'm going to put this in hashtag box, right? Let's save it, not select everything, save it, go back, and that looks good. Okay, so that looks good. But as you can see, this box has some kind of shadow to it, right? So that's what we're gonna do next. So I want to put this particular shadow around my hashtag box. So let's do that. So hashtag box, and the property that we are going to use over here is called box shadow, right? And I'm going to say, okay, let's try 10 pixels, and let's put the blur to 40 pixels, and let's put the color to this light gray that we have. Let's save it. Let's see how the shadow looks. Perfect. Looks similar. Okay. Okay, what were the exact values that I used over here? As you can see in hashtag box, I must have this hashtag box in there. Over here, the box shadow. Okay, I used 5 pixels, 5 pixels, 20 pixels, and the same gray that I have over here. So over here, I'm gonna mention the same thing. So save it, and there we go. Better. Okay, what's next? I totally forgot about this particular line that I have over here. So let's do that as well. I'm going to copy this, and this is where? This is after my box, right? So over here, I'm going to mention what? After my box, like this box, inside my container, obviously, I'm going to mention a paragraph in which I'm going to mention an anchor tag, in which I'm going to mention a hashtag and href, and over here I'm going to mention the whole line. And create a page should be hyperlinks. I'm going to cut it from here. I'm going to put it inside the anchor tags. What I've done over here is I've nested the anchor tags inside my paragraph tags, right? Save it. And this is, supposed to be in strong. So I'm gonna cut this. Strong is what strong, strong is what I'm looking for. Paste it again and save it. And my page, that's how it looks. Okay, not good, not good. Why not good? Now what Flexbox is doing, as you would remember, when I use Flexbox, the thing that I said, like Flexbox, whenever we talk about Flexbox, whenever we mention display flex to any elements, all of its immediate children are going to be flex items. So it is taking this particular paragraph as its immediate child, right? We don't want that. We don't want this to be a separate child. It is a part of this particular box only. So what I'm going to do over here, this is the main container, and the first child that it has is text, right? I'm going to create a division over here, and this is going to be the second child, right? So I'm going to cut this from here, going to paste this over here. So this is my first child, and this division that starts at line 87 and 99 is my second child, right? And over here, I'm going to give it some ID if I would want to select it in future. So box with the last line, the paragraph text. Okay, box with text. And let's go back. Let's see. That's better, right? Okay, I want this to be at the center. So I'm going to mention box with text. So in the style, of course, hashtag box with, why am I writing text? Let's put box with line, and I'm going to give the ID of box with line. That's better, right? Okay, over here, box with line, I'm going to say text align, and I'm going to put it to center, save it, and yeah, definitely better. Okay, looks similar. Okay, what's next? What's next? What exactly we have not done till now is, okay, this. Can you see this placeholder text? Like, let me remove this as well. These two inputs have placeholder text. In other words, can you see this password written over here? If I would write something over here, the password is gone. But if I would remove this, the password is again there, reappears, right? This is what we call placeholder text. And that's what I'm going to mention next. So in the HTML, or where I have mentioned the input, I'm going to mention placeholder as an attribute, and the value it's going to have is going to be this. So email address or phone number is what I'm going to write. So email address or phone number. Perfect. I'm going to save this and I'm going to show you first. So this is how it looks. So I have this placeholder text now. Good. What's next? I want to put this placeholder text and password as well. So placeholder and password is what I want as the value. And let's go back. Let's check it out. Perfect. If I start typing, the password's gone. Okay, perfect. Okay, with that, we are done with the placeholder text as well. So when we try to type something over here, the placeholder text is gone. But if I would remove, the placeholder text is back again. That looks good. What's next? So, okay, over here, if I would click on password, can you see the blue outline that I have? Let's try to do that. All right, so if I would click over here, the blue outline is actually black. We don't want that. We want the blue outline. So over here in my page, I'm going to do what? So inputs, yes. Over here, okay, I'm going to say what? Over here, I'm going to say input and focus. Right, so when you are focusing on input, then this CSS property should be applied, right? So the CSS property that I want over here is outline and outline color, and the color is going to be the same blue. So I'm going to copy this RGB code, copy, and I'm going to paste this. Save it. Let's go back. Perfect. I have the blue. Great. What's next? Can you see? This is actually like it has some padding on the left, like the placeholder text has some padding on the left. let's try to do that as well. So hashtag box, no, hashtag, okay. Inputs is what we are looking for, input. And over here, I'm gonna mention padding on the left, 20 pixels, right? So on the left, we should have some padding that is gonna be 20 pixels. That looks good. And the last thing, not the last thing probably, but yeah, we want the space on the top, right? So my Flexbox is actually dot container and that's the whole thing. So I'm gonna mention what? I'm gonna mention, do I already have dot container? Yes, I do. So over here, I'm gonna just give it some margin on the top, right? So margin on the top, margin on the top, and let's try 150 pixels, save it, and perfect. 150 pixels, let's try 130 pixels. Better, that's good, that's good. Okay, what's next? I'm not satisfied with the size of the Facebook, right? Like it's bigger over here and mine is smaller. I'm gonna increase the size. So H1, font size 50 pixels, 60 pixels. Better, better. Okay, what's next? I want to increase the size of this as well. So I'm gonna go back and my paragraph, gonna select the paragraph and the paragraph. Okay, I've not selected it yet. So I'm gonna mention paragraph and over here, I'm gonna say font size and your font size is gonna be 30 pixels. Okay, let's see how it looks. Okay. It is selecting both of the paragraphs that I have. Okay, so I'm gonna mention, okay. At this particular moment, you would be like, okay, if you want to uniquely select this particular paragraph, which I have on line number 94 till 95, you can actually give it an ID or a class apparently, but yeah, an ID would work. Actually, yes, that would work. Giving it an ID or a class would sort this particular problem that we are facing right now. But do we have some other good, better ways of selecting it? And actually we do. So how? So over here, I'm gonna teach you a different style of selecting the elements, except IDs and classes. So over here, I'm gonna mention hashtag text. Right, so select the element which has the ID text and select the paragraph inside it. And there we go. Right, I'm gonna mention font size, again, put it to 30 pixels, save it, and there we go. Now, as you can see over here, this is the width of this container, right? Because the text starts from here and this ends over here. So I want to do that kind of thing, like the same thing to my box as well. In other words, I'm gonna mention some width for this particular box, right? So the width is now automatically calculated. I'm going to change that, right? So width for what? Width for this particular box. So hashtag text, and I'm going to mention width. Let's try width of 400 again for you as well. So 400 pixels. Better, but not perfect. 500. Definitely better. Right, I'm going to remove this annotate from the screen, annotations from the screen. And yeah, that's better. That's okay. Is anything left on the page? This looks similar, this looks similar. Okay. One thing. This over here, the placeholder text over here, I want to give it some, what do you say, some font, right? Like this is not the exact font which I have over here, right? So I'm going to give it some font and I'm also going to increase its size. So how do we select the placeholder text, right? So I'm going to say input and I'm going to say placeholder. Now over here, I'm going to mention the font family, which I have over here. So that's what I'm going to select. Copy this. I'm going to paste it over here. That's good. And I'm gonna increase the size of it as well, right? So font size is what I want. Gonna put it to some amount of pixels. Oh, that's too small. 20 pixels. That's too big. Okay, that means Let's try this. Better, kind of satisfying, and looks like this. All right. I'm gonna put it to 16. Perfect. Okay, so that was it. This is all for the video. That's the clone that we have created together. That's the Facebook clone. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.